Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Think Big podcast. We are at episode 119. That means we've been going live for 119 weeks in a row without missing a single episode. And as is our MO, we are fashionably late to our own podcast. So we got to start telling people that we don't start at 5 o'clock Arizona time. We started at 5 o'clock ish. But I'm crazy excited about tonight's episode because this is the first time in over a year that we have brought on a guest. The last time we brought on a guest, I think we nearly broke the internet because we had a young guy who was just crushing it in the short-term rental space. And now we've got someone that this is exciting for me. This is when Sam says to me, Marlon, we need to have this person on. I don't even question it because Sam is so guarded about who he puts in front of the audience at any given time. And I come to find out that this guy is from Long Island, where I grew up. And so we were just having a little pre-show conversation, talking about Strong Island, talking about the cool people out there and the things he's up to. So tonight, I'm excited. We're going to be diving into his story. We're going to be learning about the strategy that he leverages that's really been his claim to fame and how he's been helping other entrepreneurs step into the real estate space and really crush. But I'm going to pass the mic over to Sam because I want Sam to give a little bit of an introduction as well. And guys, here's what I'm going to tell you before we get started. If you already know that you get value when you're at the podcast and you're here live with us, be sure to share this episode now. Don't wait till the end. Share it now because you want to be live for the conversation. And we're doing a massive giveaway tonight. This is the first time we've done a giveaway this big. So we're doing a massive giveaway for this special occasion that will only be going to our most active audience members. So Sam, come on, tell us a little bit about who we have here tonight.
Dude, I'm super excited about this one. So one, yes, to Marlon's point, we haven't had a guest on the podcast. Marlon and I go live every week without fail, no matter what, we're here. We haven't done a guest in over a year, and that guest was amazing. All the guests that we've ever had before were amazing, but Marlon and I had a discussion not too long ago, and we're like, we need to raise the bar before we start bringing people on. And it was very organic in the way that it happened. I'm a part of a bunch of different masterminds. So is Matt. Matt, you and I are in, like, I would say all the higher level masterminds there are, even the ones that people don't know exist in the real estate industry. And that's how we got connected. And so long story short, Matt and I connected in a mastermind in Tampa not too long ago. We went out for dinner that night. I think we had a great time. And I remember walking away from that. I'm like, that dude is going to be a close friend for a long time. And I remember I even told you that night, I was like, I think I told you, and you probably weren't paying attention when you were like getting into your Uber. I was like, you don't know it yet, but you're coming on the podcast. And then and we were like the first one we've had, and we've been so protective because we know one core rule about this industry. And it's that association can kill you if you associate with the wrong people. And our big thing for Marlon and myself is, like, we lead with so much integrity and we're all about ethics and keeping our moral center. And so when we find people who are absolutely actually crushing it in the industry, and B, have an amazing moral center and they're family oriented. Marlon and I, we're not married, we don't have kids, but I think we are so excited to be family men one day. So when we come across guys like you who are like all about their family, we're like, dude, huge. And so guys, I want to introduce you to someone who's absolutely crushing a strategy that no one talks about, honestly. I've done over 350 deals closed to this day, and I've never leveraged a strategy. And then I remember meeting you, and I was like, shit, should I have been doing that? And I probably should have. So guys, Matt, I want you to introduce yourself a little bit. But dude, I want to give you the floor. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Matt Porcaro, because he's a cool freaking dude.
Well, Sam and Marlon, thank you. That is the best. I can't go home now. My wife's going to be like, get out of the house. Your head's too big. I really, really, truly appreciate that. And I don't take that lightly at all. I think the same to you guys. I mean, the fact that you're doing this consistently every week for your community, for your audience, it's killer. A lot of people don't do it. You guys give wholeheartedly. So everybody that is here watching, you're in the right place. And I don't say that lightly. I know, Sam, we had a great conversation about, just business in general, but I knew immediately when we started talking, like, again, we crossed paths, but like, you're a real one. And I appreciate that. I don't take that lightly because that is what I am all about. And, my name is Matt Porcaro. I hail out of Long Island, born and raised here. And, my story is like a lot of people's stories. And I'm going to share it a little bit just because I found that it resonates with so many people. That's why I continue to share it. So I don't get tired of sharing it for that reason. But I think the big thing is like growing up, I always knew that the best way to describe it is that there had to be a better way. Right. And if you know what I mean by that, right? Like things just don't make sense as is. I always looked for like the ulterior ways of doing things, or like I just always that's what I grew up with, the mindset I was around, grew up in a blue collar family. My parents, investing was never said. Investing is for rich people. Investing is for smart people. Investing is for other people. We work hard, and we go on our vacations and stuff like that. But at the same time, because investing wasn't really talked about, and my parents, did have their own business, there was a lot of ups and downs. And financially, my parents were like not secretive about money and finances. Like, so I grew up in an environment where like if money wasn't coming in, like I knew about it. And when you're like 6 or 7 years old, man, like they talk about those first kind of formidable years when you're a kid, like how that changes your life. When I think back, like why I'm so passionate about this is because, dude, I just remember being the young kid, like seeing my parents get into arguments over money, having electric get cut off, from when my dad's business was completely shut down and stuff. And that stuff sticks with you so much. So understandably, I just wanted to find ways to make money. Like I worshiped money because to me, it was like the root of all evil, and not having it was the root of all evil. And then having it was going to like solve everything. So go down the rabbit hole. I did all the things that everybody told me to do growing up. My parents were like, listen, you don't want your own business. You want to go work. You want a stable job, a stable, a stable gig, go to school, get good grades, do all that stuff. And I didn't get good grades. Let's be clear on that. I really sucked at school, but I was really, if there's one good characteristic about me, it's that I get by the skin of my teeth with everything. When I asked my wife one time, we were doing it was like some book or whatever, and they would talk about everyone's superpower. And they were like, ask your partner what your superpower is, because they know you better than you know yourself. So I asked my wife one day, I was like, hey babe, what do you think my superpower is? And she's like, showing up on time, even though you have so much anxiety and everything leading up to it, like you still get whatever needs to get done. She's like, you drive me nuts, because like we'll have to be somewhere at 7:00 and it's like 6:58 and we're like leaving the house, but somehow we always get there on time. But I think the point of that is really crucial, like why the 203K way exists and everything like that. And the reality is I grew up in this environment. I went to school, wasn't very good, got into the work rate, in the 9 to 5, started working at a job that I just got by the skin of my teeth after graduating by the skin of my teeth, and getting into this environment where I realized that like, this isn't great either. This sucks too. Like I worked I worked a 9 to 5. I had 2 weeks of not even 10 days of measly vacation a year. I had a 3-hour commute into New York City every day, and I just hated it. And I was like, there has to be a better way. And lo and behold, I started doing all the deep dives, reading all the books, trying to figure out all these things. And I mention it every time because, again, everyone's story is the same. But I read a little book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm sure no one here has ever heard of that book, but if you have, you should go. If you haven't, you should go read it. But really, that book for a kid growing up in a blue collar environment where like investing is never spoken about, I wasn't gonna like that. It would like blew my mind. Like it changed my whole life. And I was like immediately drawn to the fact of like assets over liabilities and all these things he talks about in the book. But one of the funny things about it was that he talked about real estate and growing up in Long Island and being in New York. He's like talking about buying multiple properties. I'm like, I can't even buy one property in Long Island. Like, I don't think I'll ever buy a house. It's too expensive here. There's no way I'll ever be able to do it. So I wrote it off. And fast forward a couple of years, like it was always planted the seed in my head. And I tried a bunch of different strategies. I started going down the rabbit hole of real estate and trying out wholesaling, and I failed miserably at it. I don't know. You guys are way smarter than me. You cracked it. I can't crack it. I was too dumb to do it. I tried. I got a lot of leads. I couldn't close them. It was one thing after another, to the point where like my family's making fun of me. My girlfriend's like, at the time girlfriend is like, why are you spending all this time, money, effort? You have a good job. Like you have a decent job in New York City. Why are you doing this? And again, it was always that thing inside of me that just was like, I know there's something more to life than this. I know there's like, this is not the way. Like there's got to be a better way. So fast forward, I essentially I exhausted every option on trying to find out how to break into real estate investing in New York, and tried all these different things. Went to the local RIA one night, and there's this lady, Melissa, who ran it. And she basically, Marlon, now you maybe even know her as Long Island RIA, but Melissa ran it. And she's a really respected lady and just like has so many properties and all this stuff. And I asked her, I was like, listen, Melissa, I've been trying at this thing for years. I tried wholesaling. Like, I don't have a lot of money. I'm not sitting there with hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. Like, I got a couple grand in the bank. Like, if you were me and you could do this all over again, what would you do? And she's like, well, I never personally did it, but there's something out there called the 203K loan. And I was like, I've been researching real estate for 5 years, never once heard about this. And I was like, okay, piqued my interest. I'm like, what is it? What can you tell me what that is? She's like, well, it's an owner occupied loan. So the whole thing is like, you don't own a house yet, right? And this was the thing. And I was like, yeah. She's like, it's a huge advantage for you. Actually, what it really is going to do for you is your owner occupancy, your newbiness, you're being new to this is actually a huge chess piece for you in this game. And she said, what it allows you to do is it allows you to not only buy a house, but for a low down payment, but also get all the money to renovate it. So here in New York, there were a lot of, there was a lot of like properties with like basements and stuff like that. So she's like, you're young, go buy a fixer upper property, put only 3.5% down, which in my case was enough to put down. It was only at the time, it was only $9,500. Put that down, live in the basement, rent out the upstairs, and then you have a property. Now you could build some equity into it from the renovation, do a live and flip, and go repeat the process. So my mind was blown. I was like, how come I've never heard of this? Like, this is amazing. I didn't know that I could buy something for less than 20% down, even as an owner occupant. I didn't know that there were programs out there where you could wrap in the renovation costs, all this stuff. So I immediately went home and started Googling it. And then I realized why nobody talks about it, because there was no information on it at all. Like, it was like, what the F is going on? This is a government program. Nobody talks about it. And so lo and behold, it just kind of put me down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what to do. But the reality was I had no other option. And I knew that, like, if there was a will, there was a way. And I knew that that was the only way that I was ever going to break into this game, because it required a very low amount of out of pocket. And it was something that fit for me in my situation. So I went out there, I got pre-approved with it. I placed a ton of offers, got laughed at like crazy. I couldn't afford anything still in Long Island. I eventually found a completely dilapidated crack house duplex property. Nobody wanted to touch it with a 20-foot pole. It was that bad. They were selling drugs. It was a crack house. They were selling drugs out of the front window. There were people squatting in it. It was nasty. It was terrible. But suffice to say, it was the only thing that I could afford. And I couldn't even actually afford it because I think at the time my pre-approval was like laughable. It was like $300,000, which even back then, a couple of years ago, like was not nearly enough money to buy anything in New York. So, but I was like, okay, so this thing is $300,000. It was like listed for $290. I was like, how am I going to buy this? And I found out that day about this cool new other benefit, which introduced me to the house hacking concept. Was my loan officer said, well, what's cool about this is a legal 2-family house. And what's cool about these loans is that they're able to forecast the future rental income of those other units to help you increase your budget on what you're able to afford. So luckily, it kind of like dumb luck, really, honestly, I found out about this. We were able to forecast the future rental income of that other unit when I finished the property. So that got me just enough to get all into the property. So I was able to purchase it. I went through hell going through it. It was my first time doing it. Again, there was no information on this. So it was tough. I managed through it. Closed on the property. It took me like 100 days to close. It was crazy. Closed on the property, did the renovation, was all into the property for $350,000 when all was said and done. I was able to get it for $270, put $80,000 into it. That was wrapped into the loan. All I put down was $9,500. With this loan, I was able to wrap in the closing costs. I was able to wrap everything in. I was also able to wrap in the first couple months mortgage payments into it as well. We could talk more about that, but basically $9,500 clear out of pocket, bought the house, built, got it reappraised 8 months later after renovation completed for $480,000. So in just a couple months, I went from never having any experience with real estate to using this loan program, getting it $130,000 in equity. And not to mention, I was living for free in one of the units. And then very soon after I had gotten engaged with my now wife, I moved out of that property. And that property I still have to this day. It cash flows me $2,000 a month free and clear on that. all off of literally $9,500. Now, the craziest thing about this entire story goes back to the fact that I did this and I realized why nobody talks about it and all this stuff, because it was tricky and complicated. But, realtors were telling me, oh, it's too much paperwork. I remember being done with the project finally, after all was said and done, after all this crap that I dealt with trying to get it over the finish line. And I just remember getting handed the final inspection, the certificate of occupancy from the inspector. And I just remember looking around at the house and like seeing the paint on the walls, smelling the paint on the walls and the floors, and just like looking around and going through all that shit. And I'm like, how do people still not know about this? Like, all things considered, like there's no amount of paperwork that a real estate agent could convince me that would let me get away from turning $9,500 of my equity. It's not like I'm partnered with anyone on this. It's not like I have to deal with private money lenders or hard money. Like, this is mine. This is my property that I own outright, that I built $130,000 of equity in just a couple months, being a guy that had literally nothing else, no other option on Long Island in New York to do. Like, there's no amount of paperwork that you can convince me is not worth it. So I was just blown away at that. And ultimately, what that did was it gave me the confidence, number one. It gave me the equity, number two. It gave me the cash flow. It gave me the experience. And I then took that and started getting into flipping. And I bought my next property 6 months later. I re-leveraged, did it again. Now today, I'm using the same loan program on my forever home. I'm actually in my buddy's office. We're actually getting internet in it tomorrow, so my office will be set up. Finally done with that, building $600,000 in equity on that, and I put $60,000 down on that property. So I'm a big fan of this because it gave people like me a path that I felt like nobody else had. And again, I'm not as smart as you guys with the wholesaling game. I'm not as smart as some of you flippers out there. Like, even as a flipper, I wasn't great. I did some good deals and stuff, and I still have some properties and everything like that. But like, this is my bread and butter. And this is what I believe in so wholeheartedly, is that there's no reason that programs like this shouldn't be readily available and talked about, especially right now with everything with rates and everything like this. This is the cheat code to get into the game right now. It's only gotten better since I started it all those years ago. But I know this is a long story, but hopefully everyone is getting the right thing. And again, the reason I share it is because I know that it does resonate with people.
Dude. Okay, because I know Marlon's chomping at the bits right now. Marlon, you go first, and I've got some stuff I want to talk about.
Well,
too.
bro, first off, Matt, like, seriously, I love this story because it resonates. I feel like it double resonates with me when you're talking about being out there in Long Island, looking at these houses. Like, how the hell am I going to afford any of this? I remember thinking that, like, I was like, I can't buy a house. Like, everything out here is 400, 500, 600, 700,000. And like, how do I even get into this? How do I save up enough of a down payment? So had I known about this loan product, it would have changed. I probably wouldn't have ran away from Long Island, right? Like, let's be honest. Like, I ran away from Long Island, y'all, because I wasn't as smart as Matt. I couldn't figure out how to do it in one of the toughest marketplaces on planet freaking Earth.
Yeah.
And so what I want to highlight is something that you said, the fact that you found out about this product, but as you're in the marketplace and you're putting in those offers, it wasn't that you put in the first offer and it got accepted. It was offer after offer after offer after offer, being laughed off at. We're not taking this. This is crap. And like, the property you finally got, you said, this is like the drug infested property. This is like the beat up duplex that no one wants to touch. Effectively, you took on the problem everybody else was avoiding. You took on the work everybody else was avoiding. Like, people are missing out on the greatest opportunity because it's wrapped up and disguised as work. Like, I just want to highlight that. Freaking phenomenal,
dude. I have to. I think Matt's exact words were "dilapidated crack house duplex." I think that's exactly what he said. And
yeah, that's what it was, hands down.
Dude, I need to hit on this because it's actually really interesting that you mentioned that, Marlon. We're doing so much unique targeting in our business, and we're finding out where the biggest deals come from. And we've actually found out we can do less deals a year, make more money, more profit, have less competition, spend less money by just going and chasing the shit that no one else wants to touch. And it's maybe not the dilapidated crack house, but it's something to that. It's the stuff that right off the bat, people say it and they see it and they're like, oh, nope, I don't even want to try. And then all you have to do is understand that it's just a few extra steps of logistics. It's a few extra papers. It's a few extra perseverance. But if you get through it, you can unlock, like it's a new mental unlock very often.
Yep.
And for us, I would love to do half the amount of deals I normally do in a year and make double the money. That's called scaling, guys. It's actually really interesting. It's optimization and scaling. But the things I want to hit on, two things really quickly, because one, I want to make sure that everyone knows exactly what's going to be happening for the giveaway tonight, because we're going to be doing something that's super special. And I realized I didn't even announce it earlier, but I want to say this for everyone who's here for that, and you guys want to take advantage of that. We've given away thousands of dollars. We've given away books and resources and access to people's things and all the things. And I decided I wanted to do something better because we had someone as epic as Matt on in celebration. And so, guys, I think I'm half decent at scaling businesses. I think I'm like half decent. What I want to do is for someone who's hyper engaged in the chat, right? I'm going to pick one person at random tonight. And that person, I've never done this before, and I probably will never do it again. It goes against a lot of what I usually preach. That person and I will jump on a one-on-one call. I am going to diagnose your business, and I'm going to take your business, and I'm going to use the killer KPI spreadsheet that we've highlighted so much on this podcast. And I'm going to create a special game plan specific to your business for you to scale it. Whether your goal is to make $250,000, $500,000, heck, even if you tell me you want to make $1 million in your wholesale business this year, I will give you the blueprint to do that completely for free. The only caveat, Marla, I'm going to tell them right now, outside of being loud in the chat, the only qualification that you have to do and that we will check on later today is that you are following Matt on Instagram, okay? And then his things right there at the 203K way, and that you are subscribed to his YouTube. Matt, what's your YouTube?
At Matt Porcaro. So I know it's
There
a
you
little
go.
confusing there, but on YouTube, I'm Matt Porcaro. Everywhere else, I'm the 203K way.
Beautiful.
Appreciate that, man.
And okay, so that's going to be
what a deal. Holy
heck.
heck. All they have to do is follow me and they get like one of the most life-changing calls possibly for them. That's amazing. Thank you, dude.
They're going to report back to you. They're like, that was the biggest waste of time ever, Matt.
Not a chance.
But here's what's going to happen. And okay, so we're going to do that towards the end as we're wrapping up, because I want to get back to this. But I want to hit on something that, Matt, you said, and I don't think you realize how important it was because you kind of just went past it. Your ability, right? Your wife saying that, or your girl, was your girlfriend at the time or your wife? But one of them said that.
Girlfriend at the time, but
your girlfriend at the time said that your best thing, your best skill set is no matter what you feel like, no matter what's going on, no matter how much anxiety or fear or nervousness you have, or you don't feel like it, you still show the hell up. That is the most important thing that me and Marlon preach so much is good day, great, show up. Bad day, great, still show up. And the thing that people don't realize is bringing a blue collar work ethic into investing, in my opinion, is the golden ticket. We get into investing, right? And you mentioned this, how when you grow up investing in that nuance, it's not there in blue collar workers and in poverty stricken areas. Like people, we don't talk about leverage. We don't talk about how to go and do all these fancy, huge plays. And so when people get into investing, they think it's just a brain game. They think they don't have to work nearly as hard because they magically unlock leverage. And that's why no one grows. The people who crush it are the people who relentlessly show up. And I always look at their backgrounds, always. Law enforcement guys crush it. Military crushes it. Athletes crush it in entrepreneurship.
Dude, athletes.
And it's literally because of this. It is not because there's some amazing geniuses. Very often, if you look at most of them, they'll probably be the first ones to tell you that they're not the smartest, cats around, but they will freaking show up to the starting line every freaking time. So, dude.
Not to cut you off, man, but I think the biggest thing with all of that, all those things that you talked about is just like strictly delayed gratification, right? And trusting the process. Like, that's the thing, man. Like it's the hardest thing for us to do in this day and age. We live in literally instant gratification society. That's what it is. I ordered something on Amazon today. It came to my front door before I even knew that it was going to come. Right. It's like the reason athletes and law enforcement and people from those blue collar backgrounds and stuff like that do is because they don't have an expectation. They just know that they're told they're coachable. They're just told they're like, listen, this is the work you put in every day. Right. Like Steph Curry didn't get good at shooting threes from like watching YouTube videos on how to shoot threes, right? Like he got good at shooting threes by shooting threes more than anybody else out there. And he just knows that in order to maintain it, and he doesn't sleep on it. It's not like once you get good at hitting them that you're going to stop, you're going to dial it back. It's like, no, you lean into it even more, man. So yeah, that's a great point. And thanks for bringing it up. You know, the joke I always make too is like, I'm too dumb to quit. Also, like I kind of have like a pig-headed determination. Like I'm too dumb to give up on stuff. I probably, you know, sometimes I've taken longer on things than most. I take way longer to figure things out than anybody. But yeah, man, that's super cool.
Well, let's do this because I want to understand this, right? So Matt, you've taken effectively. I think people talk about, I feel like house hacking is not nearly as spoken about as it was maybe a few years ago. I feel like house hacking, it's not, I don't know, maybe it's like a Bigger Pockets thing or something. Because Bigger Pockets is usually one that who always like preaches house hacking. And I feel like I haven't been hearing a lot of it around as much anymore. We're in a very tricky situation, I think, with the economy. We have been in the last year and a half, 2 years, very tricky economy, right? It's not that, guys, and for anyone who's new and trying to figure out what the hell is happening in real estate, understand this. There is demand. Demand is there. There is a ton of pent-up buyer demand. The problem is affordability. The problem is rates being so high that people can't qualify for the mortgages. They can't afford to do these. They can't afford to execute on these properties. And so when we have this mass affordability issue, especially we have investors wanting to get started and they can't because of these limiting factors, it sounds to me like the 203K way, that program specifically, if executed right, can help around things that are going on right now specifically. Because I'm forward pacing and I'm like, over the next year or two, there's so many limiting factors in front of people getting into their first deal, their first flip, their first, rental that they're going to buy and hold and keep and refinance out of. And I'm like, there's so many debilitating factors. Do you think the 203K way is an avenue that can get people through the door?
So when I first started doing this, man, when I did my first one years ago, let's just say that although the climate was different, it was a lot of the same things, right? Like, people are like, oh, it was easier back. No, it wasn't. I still was placing tons of offers. I saw someone write in the comments, like, how did you deal with agents like getting mad at you? They didn't get mad at me. Like, I just offer where it works for me. If they ask me where I got my numbers from, I tell them it's like based on an ARV. Like I was still new. I didn't really know what I was doing, but like, I wasn't just throwing low balls out there. I was just placing as many offers as I can. It's a numbers game. Like if it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work for them. But like, it was no different then in that regard. But as far as the loan program itself, the 203K loan, and when I say 203K, there's that for everybody listening, like there's other vehicles that operate the same. There's the Fannie Mae Home Style. That's like the conventional product. It's very similar. There's the Freddie Mac Home Choice Reno. Like, there's a lot of different options, but the 203K is kind of like the colloquial term for renovation loans that are low down payment. But oh my God, so much has changed. And these loans are like more favorable than ever. Because as you just said, Sam, like in the last year or two, what have we seen? Low transactions, right? Like in some cases, record low transactions. We've seen lack of affordability. We've seen all these issues. Now, remember, we don't think about it this way, but like FHA is a business. It operates kind of as a business. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac operate as businesses. So what happens if they no longer can endorse new loans because nobody else is buying houses? So because of that, they've gotten very forgiving on a lot of different guidelines and regulations in the last year or two. To answer your question, like the 203K and this strategy and everything, like, dude, I bought my forever home and I'm like, I'm not going to be continuing like more house hacks and everything, although I help tons of people do it. Like if I had this, the landscape that's available right now, if I had this and I was in a position to house hack and I was in a position to own or occupy multiple properties and stuff like that, dude, I would be blowing it up right now. It is crazy how effective it is with all the changes. I'll give you one instance, right? So we all talk about buying multi-unit properties, right? To go back, I want to touch on this really quick because you brought up the Bigger Pockets thing and why house hacking isn't a thing or a concept anymore. The reason, or you don't hear it as much, the reason being is because people were getting in by the skin of their teeth with like the idea of like buying a quadplex, living in one unit, renting out the other units. And then you were able to there were some lucky instances that you'd hear on some programs and stuff where people would like buy a quadplex, walk in and get their entire mortgage paid for while they lived in one unit. I don't have a problem with bigger pockets. I have a problem with them kind of like over exaggerating certain things and grandiorizing. That's not even a word probably, but like making things a lot bigger than they appear type of thing. The idea that was never really the case, right? What I've seen a lot of in the last couple of years are people that bought multifamily properties as house hacks, 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit, especially everyone wants 4 units because more units, more better, right? Not necessarily. What happens is like more units, more problems is what I like to say. Pretty sure Biggie said that back in the 90s, more units, more problems. So the idea is like, that's the grass isn't always greener, but the reason why they were falling out is because people were buying move-in ready duplexes and triplexes and quads with FHA loans with 3.5% down. And when it's move-in ready, there's no equity there. You're buying at the top of the cash flow cycle. There's no room for anything. The 203K in the process, like it just pours gasoline on house hacking and the live and flip concept, because you're able to still buy multi-unit, and I'll go over a couple crazy changes that they've made in a second, but you're still able to buy multi-unit, but you're able to buy distressed multi-unit. So when you get in at a lower cost basis, it's the BRRRR strategy, right? You're getting in at a much lower cost basis. So not only are you building equity using none of your own money, you're using the bank's money. Like the classic BRRRR strategy, like as like David Green originally talked about it, like in his book, was like the first property you buy, you pay for all with your own cash, and you finance the entire renovation, and then you refi all the money back out. Who's got like $500,000 in their bank account is able to do that? And even in New York, you still couldn't do it, right? This is the opposite. You're able to put down very little and then 10x your return because you're putting such little down. Even if you make 10, 15%, you're still like quadrupling your money. So what you're able to do is you're able to get in at a lower cost basis, do value add investing, find properties that you can add bedrooms, add bathrooms, be able to increase the value of the property, be able to increase the rental income on the property. And then you can get in and turn these properties, to your point of like properties that people are overlooking, you can turn them into, higher cash flowing assets, bigger equity plays, stuff like that. What's crazy with the changes that they made in the last year or two specifically, which are major. The first one is that accessory units and ADUs are very popular right now. It's to solve the housing crisis, which is a very big issue, right? There's not enough places to live right now. Now, we say a lot of people want to buy houses, but there's a lot of people that don't. And there's a lot of people that want to just rent, but there's also a lot of people that can't even afford the rent on places because they can't afford to rent a whole house or something like that. So we're seeing it in California a lot. They do accessory dwelling units, and basically what they do is it's not a duplex, but they add like another separate living unit on the property, and it's zoned as such, and you can produce income from that. Now, if someone's a first-time home buyer or just getting into the game, it's a no-brainer. You can subsidize your mortgage payment. Now, yeah, classically people are like, oh, I want to move into a house hack, live for free. You can, and I did it. Many people can, but like when I say live for free, maybe you're coughing in a couple $100 a month. But the idea here is I like to call it like, guys, if you could buy a $600,000 property, but then only pay a $300,000 loan mortgage payment every month, I always say that's like driving a Ferrari and only having a Honda car payment. That's the idea, is leverage. You're able to get into something, rent it out, have your expenses, everything like that. So what these new legislations did is that they now allow any accessory unit, anything that can be considered as an accessory unit, a mother-daughter house, a split-level home, anything with like a detached garage, casitas, granny suites, whatever you want to call them, any accessory units, as of last year, they're forecasting that income. They used to never forecast that. It used to have to be a legal 2-family, a legal 3-family, or a legal 4-family. It does not have to be conforming. It doesn't even have to be zoned. It just has to be common and customary that it brings in that revenue. Now our lenders will be able to approve you on that income. So now I'm saying, like, I tell my buyers right now, like, you can go and shop, and you have an advantage that nobody else has, because you have your first-time home buyers that have no idea that if you buy a split-level home, you can actually get approved for significantly more. For every $1,500 a month in rent on average on these loans, it's increasing your buying power $100,000. So if you're collecting $2,000 a month in rent, you're able to get like $120,000 more buying power. Now, again, you want to be smart with it. And what I preach is value add investing, and then combining that with finding a fixer upper and using the bank's money to renovate it. Right. That brings me to the second thing, which is like the really crazy thing. And this is where it gets everybody's mind turning and everything like that. So the 203K loan, they know it's owner occupant loan, right? So they're expecting that you're going to live there. Now, people always think about this. How can I use this as a flipping loan? That's not what it's meant for, right? I did it slowly over the course of a couple of years. You do it for capital gains reasons, whatever. You hold it for 2 years. You go. I've kept all mine as rentals, and the ones I flipped, I regretted and wish I kept them as rentals. But the cool thing about it is that they know that you're not going to be able to live in a property that's being actively renovated. So they always had the option. You can wrap up to 6 months mortgage payments into the loan as well. So when you close on the property, you put your $9,500 down. And I kept a couple, it was like a couple months, like 3 months. That was all I was able to wrap in. So I wrapped in those mortgage payments, and I didn't have to pay out of pocket for that mortgage while I was renovating it. Last year, at the end of last year, they increased that to 12 months. So now you could put 15 grand down on a property, not have to pay for it for up to 12 months on it. And then you literally can move into the property, start cash flowing day one when you get tenants in there, and never have to pay out of pocket. So like, we've seen those things like PC Richards, or like some like Best Buy commercial, like buy now and not pay for 12 months. You can do that with real estate now, which is crazy. And again, with great power comes great responsibility, right? Like this is a thing why if you buy something where your tenants are going to be paying the mortgage anyway, or you have a rent, like this is a way to leverage yourself into the game, keep more money in your pocket. And I tell people, imagine you no longer have to pay $35,000 in mortgage payments in 1 year. What could you do with that extra $35,000 not having to pay that? So you would take that and go invest it somewhere else. So it's just the things that they're doing right now are to benefit of everybody that are doing this, because this is like, again, they want people to buy houses too. So they're making it more and more accessible by people. Now, the $1 million question is, again, I'm hearing so many people like, they don't know about this. Nobody knows about these new guidelines. Nobody's realtors are talking about this. Nobody's lenders are talking about this. Why? Why does nobody talk about it? There's one reason, and it's not it's nothing against lenders. It's nothing against agents. But the one reason is that it only benefits you. It only benefits the buyer. It does not benefit them at all. They see it as, like we said, more work. Oh, there's another step that we need to take before getting to the closing table. If a real estate agent sees 5 steps to get to their commission check versus 3 steps to get to their commission check, they're going to take 3 every single time. And unfortunately, they're going to lie, cheat, and steal and steer you out of that way, because in their defense, they want to get their commission check. That's what they work on. But they're going to tell you that it's not worth it, when obviously I'm telling you financially how insane it is and how incredibly worth it and how it could change a lot of people's lives, how it changed my life, everything like that. They're not going to want to do it. On the lending side, kind of same rules apply. They don't really understand it. So therefore they don't want to lose your business because they're commission based. So if you ask about it, they'll be like, it's too much of a pain in the ass. And they'll just deflect you into a different loan product because they don't want to lose your business, because a lot of loan officers are dying for business right now to begin with, but they know that they don't know how to do this program. But rather than like let you down or have it blow up in their face, they just steer you into something else. So that's why nobody talks about it. I'm not a lender. I'm not an agent. I'm just a guy that's benefited from it tremendously and helped hundreds of people do the same. And I'm the one preaching. I help, the office that I'm in, like I'm partnered with mortgage companies. Like I teach them how to do this because they're realizing how awesome it is right now, especially with all the new guidelines. And they're like, you've been doing this for so long. Also, I know more than just the lending side. Like I know how it affects the end buyer. I know how the construction projects run. I know how that stuff sprinkles downhill. So my focus is to help the end user and the end buyer and get them, because that's who I care about. I care about people that are like me that that have no other options right now. I mean, the number one thing I hear with people, Marlon, you said it, like Sam, you said it. It's like, I wish I knew about this. I would have used it earlier. That's like everyone's number one thing. Anyone that's an experienced investor, they're like, why the hell didn't I know about this? I would have definitely used this for my first couple deals, right?
Dude, oh my God.
Right?
Go ahead,
What,
Marlon.
bro, where have you been this whole time, dog?
Right? Right?
you
Like,
just-
where the hell has Matt been?
Yeah, man.
Hanging
You
out
just
on
took
Instagram,
the
man.
biggest objection off the table for why people don't get into real estate, because everyone's so concerned about the money. Right? I don't have a private money lender. My parents aren't rich. I don't have a rich uncle. I don't have a network. And you literally are removing the biggest obstacle on where am I going to get the money to buy the property, let alone do renovations on it.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Dude, this is I want to hit on a few things here because Jesus, it's crazy. Matt, one thing specifically I want people to understand, and I've always been an advocate of this in the real estate space, in just investing as a whole. It's that, guys, you need to understand when you do business with anybody, a vendor, a lead generation company, a title company, a mortgage lender, anyone that you do business with, you have to understand that they are in business to stay in business as well. And there are seldom any companies on earth, truly, no matter what they say to you or what their mission statement is or their core values say on their wall, their number one goal at the end of the day is to take care of their bottom line. That is how businesses stay in business. And so to your point, a lot of times people expect these businesses to show you everything. Why would they if there's other avenues that are better for them, have less logistics for them, and may make it a little bit worse for you, but it suits them first? If I'm a commission car salesman and you're coming to me and you're kind of a blank slate, am I really going to push you to the deal or the car or the vehicle that I don't make the biggest commission on? No, I am going to steer you all the way. That Toyota Camry may be the best thing for you, but I'll be like, yeah, but it's got miles on it. I think it was like, I heard it got like fender bender and it might have a salvage title. Let me take you over here to this Tesla. But you're like a 19-year-old kid in college. You should not be driving a Tesla right now. Like, this is the reality of this space. And so people, I think they understand that when they go talk to, let's say like a PPC company or a cold call company, and they have those guards up, but the guards tend to go away when we deal with loan programs and mortgage companies and title companies. Guys, title companies are still companies. They are still companies that want to stay in business. And if you've been in real estate long enough, you've done enough transactions, you will know that as a very harsh truth, is that not all title companies are the same. They will not go above and beyond for you the way that you want them to, even though you're bringing the deal to the table. They're going to take care of their bottom line first. And so, Matt, I think you inadvertently actually answered quite a few questions about like, oh, well, my agents told me we shouldn't do it because it's too much work. Yeah, because they don't want to do the work. Yeah. There you go. For them, that is
what's funny too, man, is like they actually don't need to do anything. Like they literally, like, they have no role in a 203k transaction, like, period. So and again, to your point, man, yeah,
right. It's like ignorance takes, like, that's the thing. If I'm an agent and I want to do the bare minimum as a human being, we want to do the bare minimum to do what we got to do to get the paycheck that we want. And if I know if there's this 203k program and I know it exists, but I don't know anything about it, that work it takes to pay down my ignorance debt, why don't I just move you to something that I already know about and to my understanding has less work involved, right?
That was beautiful. I want to clip that. You said that so eloquently, because that's literally exactly what's at play. At the end of education is ignorance, right? And like, you're always, people are always towing that line, and especially in this day and age with like, everyone's an expert in everything because the internet's available and you could go chat GPT, like, tell me what a 203k loan is. And like, they do that. And now they know everything about it. Like when they tell me like how, the 203k sucks, I'm like, how many have you done? And they're like, well, my uncle did it once and it failed. And I'm like, okay, well, who did your uncle do it with? Oh, I don't know. They did. Okay. So that's like, Sam, me and you going to play golf, and I've never played golf before, and you're a stud at golf. And I go out there and you're like, golf's a great time, dude. And I'm out there and I'm chopping, like, I'm breaking clubs. I'm like, we get to the end of 18 holes. I'm like, this sucks. Golf sucks. It's like, no, golf doesn't suck. I suck at golf. Like, that doesn't make golf a bad game. That doesn't mean golf sucks. It means I suck at golf. And that's like, it's when people say like the 203k suck. No, it doesn't suck. You suck. That's okay. You could either choose to learn it or choose to stay out of your lane and be like, no, it's not what I want to do. But if that fits your goals, listen, we talk about integrity, everything like that. Like, the first thing I bring in when I talk to my clients, my people, like, it has to align. Like, they have to be in a position to do it. This does not work for every single person, right? Like, again, there's the owner occupancy thing. Like, it's like, income. It's not an asset based loan, right? It's income based. It's an FHA loan program, albeit the easiest mortgage to get approved for, period. Like it's an FHA program. It is literally the lowest bar to hit, but it does require it. But a lot of these, again, commission based people, or anyone in any business, at the end of the day, they want to protect their own, which I get. I have kids. What's important to me is feeding them. But I mean, with this, man, it's like, the whole thing with this is like, nobody talks about this. So for me, it's like the only way that people can get talking about, like, I'm one person, like it's me on my Instagram, it's me on my YouTube channel. And like, I'm one person, and we have all these awesome people here that are listening in and everything like that. And like, that's good. But like, the best way I could do this is just help more people do it successfully and learn by actually doing it. Not like, oh, I heard it sucks or whatever. Like, no, more people that are like success stories with the process, and then they'll go and tell their people and their people. So that's what's important to me with this, is just doing it the right way.
I love this right now, guys. If you're getting value from this and you're thinking to yourself, you're like exactly what Matt just said. Like, yeah, like he is only one person that can share this message, and you're knowing someone that's been trying to get into a home, share this with them right now. Get them in on this conversation so that you two can have a dialogue after the episode's over. So you and your friend, you and your family, you and your brother, you and your mom can have this dialogue after it's over. I think what happened a few years ago, and you guys are in the industry, you saw this, we had this big craze around the term creative finance, and everyone was chasing after these creative finance opportunities. And I look at something like the 203K way, and to me, that's creative finance. That is OPM at the highest level. That's I'm getting the bank's money. I only have to come in with such little
government backed, secured, low. I'd be careful saying low risk. Listen, careful, everybody. But like, it is, right. It's very low out of pocket for you. It's backed by it's insured by the federal government. You own it. You don't have to worry about, there's no other decision maker or stakeholder in this. It's you yourself, and you hold the note. It's your property. You own it. The equity that you build on it.
And so that's a question I have for you, right? With the 203, when you get in, because you're buying them just like we buy burrs, right? Like, you're buying these things.
Yep.
You're looking to purchase below market value, which is you're following rule number one of investing, right? Rule number one is make money in the buy. So you're buying it at the right price. And these loans, you don't have to refinance them out later, right? Like, after the renovation's done, after you're renting it out. And that's a question. I actually don't know. Like, so you don't have to refinance these, right?
It's a great question. So the answer is no. They're 30-year terms. And it's great thing. It's a great thing to focus on there. Without going too deep in this, because we could go. I mean, I could talk for, if you guys are up till 12, we'll hang out till 12. No, but seriously, the cool thing about it is, so you can basically use it as almost like a way to get into it, and you can refinance. So the way I've always kind of coached it and told people to do it is, like, you want to aim to be all in for under 80%, because if you could do that, you could refinance out immediately and then refi into a conventional mortgage, get rid of the FHA, and get rid of the mortgage insurance. So mortgage insurance, the best way to explain it to people is, so we talk about FHA. So the government actually doesn't give you the loan. They insure the loan. The way insurance companies work is everyone pays them a little bit every month. So every FHA buyer pays the government, or pays a little bit into this big bowl of this FHA insurance fund, where this is the government's way of saying, like, hey, you guys are subprime borrowers. You're putting less than 20% down. You have a little bit lower credit. You have a little higher debt to income ratio, but we want to instigate. We know homeownership is the fabric of the United States, which I'm a big believer in. And they know that homeownership is good for everything and everybody. It's good for communities. It's good for kids. It's good for families. It's good for the economy, everything. So they do this to do that. If one of these people ends up defaulting, the bank is more incentivized to give low, subprime people these mortgages, because they know that it's insured by the government. So if they made their payments for a couple of years, defaulted, they go back and tap into that bucket. It's a couple $100 a month. It's a great way to get rid of it if you want to make it into a rental, increase your cash flow. And that's the whole point of, like, to your point of, like, building equity and getting in for a lower cost estimate. What I do tell people too, it's like funny, especially in like a changing rate environment, like, that mortgage insurance really isn't going to kill you. If it does, it's $100 or $200 a month. And to your point, like, you buy on the buy. Like I hear people on like Bigger Pockets, not to keep, I'm not want to rag them, but like it's a common thing. I get the house hackers that like they bought all in. They barely were, they were forcing themselves into this house. It was barely a DTI, but they were just so obsessed with the idea of buying a quadplex. They get in, it's move-in ready. They spent all their money on the down payment and closing costs. There's no equity in the deal. They're at the top of their margin. They were maybe going to get $100 a month cash flow after they moved out and after rates dropped 2 points. And then what happens? One of their tenants has something break, has a plumbing issue, has this. Now, what are they doing? They're financing it with credit cards. They're financing it. They're over leveraging their DTI. The whole reason they got into house hacking was to be real estate investors, but it did the complete opposite. It made them a tired landlord immediately because they came into it and they didn't buy right. So I don't think, call me biased, but house hacking without the 203K or without value add investing, it's a recipe for disaster. It's not going to work. Like, again, a couple of years ago, maybe like when rates were 2%, people were squeaking by, and that's why it was like maybe getting a little hot for people. But then like once people caught on, and again, it wasn't the norm at all. Even when I bought it years and years ago, I was still kicking in a couple $100 a month, right? So the idea is like, if you buy right and you force equity and you do value adds, you add bedrooms, you force equity into the deal, use the bank's money to create the unit, make it nicer, get top dollar, plus completely renovate the house. So now that you are becoming a landlord to 1, 2, 3 other tenants, at least you know that the renovation was done and you don't have to worry, ideally, that the water tank's going to go or there's a plumbing issue. Like, you just made everything brand new. So you have some longevity in that cash flow. You could start socking away and get ready for your next investment. Most importantly, in my case, building that equity, having access to that equity, I didn't even really tap the equity. I just had access to it and I was able to leverage that, not even directly. I got a HELOC later, but I had a deal with like a private money lender and a hard money lender. They basically had a promissory note on the equity, and that gave me 100% financing on my next flip. So like, you don't even necessarily have to pull that money out to go refi. But what people don't realize is like, I've gone back and forth in this. This is a whole other conversation, a whole nother episode. But after owning real estate for almost a decade now, I used to think cash flow is king, and I'm not going to say it's not. But what I am finding, while I'm starting to see, like you said, I turned $9,500 into $2 million of real estate using these loans on loan. This is not counting my flips that I've done or my rental properties. The coolest thing about it is like that equity does way more for me than the cash flow does. Like, I flipped way more. I don't have a lot of cash flowing properties, but that equity is such a huge tool for me. And that's wealth. That's like real wealth. That's wealth that'll stay with my kids. Wealth that'll stay with my family. That's stuff that, like, my net worth is really effective. It helps me get credit lines. It helps me, it gives me so many options, man. So like, building that equity on these deals is so important, man. It's so important.
Matt, you got me smiling right now, man, because I feel like nobody's freaking talking about equity anymore. Like, I don't know when I stepped into the twilight zone. I don't know when it happened that investors started buying these non-equity, non-cash flowing assets, and like it became a trophy thing to say you own a house. I don't know when it happened, but like equity, I agree with you, man. Equity is king when you understand finance. I find most people aren't really ever understanding truly the big picture. That's why we try and have these podcast episodes. That's why we try to have guests like you that are able to give perspective, give a bigger picture, a larger picture on how it all actually connects.
Yeah. Well, think about it, right? Like, sorry, just to highlight your subject, right? So think about it. So if I bought a house, and like, let's just say people, like, again, this is another, I'm not picking on Bigger Pockets anymore. Other gurus say this too, of like $100 a door, right? They do this whole idea of like, if you can make $100 a door, you're going to be great. Okay. While I also wholeheartedly disagree with that, not down the road. I get it. Like, also, when you're one of these gurus that has 500 properties, sure, you'll take $100 because your tax benefits and all that. It's a different conversation. When you're first starting out, you need like as much cash flow as you possibly can get, like, because like you need to bolster yourself. You need to be able to build your FU wall, as my friend Daniel Kleiman says. Like, you want to make sure that you build enough of a wall to subject yourself to that. But here's a thing about cash flow and equity, right? When you build $50,000 of equity on a deal like this, which is day in, day out, I see it all the time. Like, that's the low end. Usually we're building 6 figures of equity, right? But like, you build 50,000 or 100,000. Let's say you do take down one of these $100 a month or $200 a month properties that you're getting. Okay, cool. That's a nice win. Cool. But well, let's think about $100 a month. We'll call it $1,000, $1,200 a year. Okay. Versus I built $100,000 of equity on the renovation. How many years of cash flow will it take me to make that $100,000 in equity by just buying a distressed asset, versus how many years is it going to take me at $200 a month cash flow to hit $100,000?
Dude,
it's like not even close. So how are you not focusing on equity? Equity is immediate, man. Like, you have the ability to immediately, like, take in all the cash flow immediately. And then if you, everything else is a back end. So it's like, and again, when you're using the government's money and you're putting so little down, it's a no brainer, right? Use their money to force that forward.
Matt, I got to ask you a question. And I know Sam's got a question, or Sam wants to add something, but did you, when you started doing this and you're starting to build and this started to click, did you start doing, I call them like financial audits on yourself? Like, did you start doing like these net worth audits on yourself when you started to see the math clicking? Like, at what point did it click for you that, like, holy crap, this is what's possible if I'm buying into these chunks of equity by going and getting good deals? When did you start paying attention to it?
That's a really good question, man. Like, I'll be honest, I'm very bad at managing shit like that. Like, I'm really not. I'm like a really like I'm super ADHD, like just up in the clouds constantly. I think when it really clicked most was it with my most recent property, with my forever home that we literally finished this week. We're moving in. It's a Fannie Mae home style loan, very similar. I put 10% down, not because I had to, but because it's our forever home and we weren't doing much to it. Bought it off market, mind you, in the midst of 2022, when everyone said that like everything was it was even more impossible. That was the 50 offers on a property, that type of thing. I went off market, did direct mailers. We drove for dream homes, as I call it. We drove in the neighborhood we wanted, drove for fixer upper properties we knew we wanted. Again, realtors laughing at me. We placed like 10 offers at that point. Just constantly getting laughed. You're not going to get what you want in your market. But me and my wife knew exactly where we wanted. So we built a list of about like 200-300 properties in the area. It was like a 2-mile square radius. And we wrote handwritten letters, marketing, picture of me and my family on it. Hey, me and my wife are outgrowing our 1-bedroom apartment. We'd love to buy from you. We'd love to buy your house. If you have any interest in selling, please call or text me. Picture of us, handwritten envelopes, boom. Sam, you'll like this. The response rate was 10%. So it was a 10% response rate. If you're in the direct mail world, that that's like that. It doesn't even make sense. Bonkers. And that was on every drop. We did 3 drops. Dude. We had a lot of people reach out and do it. So we locked that up off market. So we got it. We bought right. That was the most important thing that I knew. I stayed all that extra time. I knew I wanted to buy right because I knew what we wanted to do on the back end. We did about $300,000 in renovation. I will be transparent. We wrapped in about 150 of that, and I paid a whole lot extra out of pocket because it's my forever home. And I'm realizing that flipping your forever home is way different than a flip. So we went above and beyond. But here's the thing. The idea is I knew the equity was there because the valuation we're looking at with like recently sold comps and everything like that, we're looking at like 1.3 ARV. So we're all in for, call it, 800,000, but we're looking at 1.3, 1.4 when we're done, looking at $600,000 in equity. So I'll gladly take that all day. Again, using this product allowed me to buy in as is condition. It allowed me to, appraisals basically not an issue. We closed in 38 days. Like, we closed fast. What's cool about it is you're buying as is. So there's no back and forth with the attorneys and here in New York. Like, you're taking as is. As long as you have your ducks in a row. We had the contractor like put together the scope of work. The inspection got done. It was done in 38 days. So when you know what you're doing, you play your cards right, you could really blow it up with these. But again, with that, when I saw I call it equity arbitrage, right? So it's the idea that if you could look at an area, if anyone's listening to this, like, this is probably one of the biggest takeaways that I think I've gotten in the last year. And this really ties into your point, Marlon. The idea of equity arbitrage is this, right? We've all heard of Airbnb arbitrage. We know what arbitrage is, right? It's basically taking something for a lesser value, finding a higher value, a higher value use for it, and taking the difference. So using stuff like these bank loans and these renovation loans to do this renovation, if you know that in your market, like in my market, for example, I know I could do new construction or add square footage to a property. Like, for example, there was a screened in porch in the back that we expanded. It was a couple hundred square feet. We added that. That's now new gross living area. We knew that we could build that for about $200, $225 a square foot. We also know new build top of market construction in our area is $425 a square foot. So we're arbitraging the equity on our house by knowing that in our market, it costs us $200, $250 a square foot to build. And we know that it's worth $400 on the back end, right? So when we know that, now we can make conscious decisions on how we're going to expand on the property. We know that if we add a bathroom or we add this, it's going to cost us X to add the bathroom, and it's going to increase our equity a certain amount on the back end, right? So when you look at it in like price per square foot kind of areas, and that's easier for me personally to kind of understand, what you do is you take this concept and then you go look for property. And that's what like people in my community and everything are doing now with the house hacking concept, everything like that. Like, we're looking for houses that are already set up like this, like garages that we can convert into more living space, right? A detached garage we can convert into more living space, stuff like that. And then if we can just increase that gross living area, that's the best way to increase value on a property, best way to increase equity on a property. And again, if you could build it for, maybe in your market, it's 150 and you know it's going to be worth 325 on the back end, that's $100 per square foot profit that you're making on your equity. So like that concept of like dialing in on every property that I look at now to focus on how can I increase the value immediately. And again, cash flow aside, that equity is there. And people like argue it's not liquid. When you get to a point where you have multiple properties and you have banking relationships and stuff like that, it is very liquid. It's liquid in the form of credit lines, all kinds of stuff like that. Right.
Dude. Okay. We're running over on time, and I want to make sure that Matt gets back to his family. He needs to get back to his family, because I'm absolutely trying to get in with that entire freaking clan, and I don't want his wife hating us because he's
no, never that. She knows how passionate I am about this.
Dude, here's one thing that I don't think we've hit on, and we've hit on, but we haven't outright said this, guys. No matter what strategy it is, no matter which one, nothing trumps. No strategy will cure having a shit deal.
Bingo.
That is it. That is it. And the one thing about Matt's been investing for a decade now. It is not overnight. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It doesn't override a bad deal being a bad deal. And so I'm absolutely loving this. And here's what I love about this. You broke the cardinal rules with your forever home because there's emotions in it, right? And just like every other flip, you're going to take longer than it should. You're going to go over budget, which you did. And then, but because you bought it right and you used the right tool, you still have like $600,000 of equity in it. And guys, I do tons of creative financing. Like, it's become a specialty for us, and we do it all the time. We do subject twos. We do all the things. I'm going to tell you right now, as someone who is trying to grow, and I'm feeling this growing my portfolio, there is something about having equity to just be able to fall back on. It is one of the most potent things. It's not just a financial thing. It's this. It is a safety net for you mentally as an entrepreneur. And whenever I look at entrepreneurs in the real estate space who are over leveraged and they have no equity they can tap into anywhere, they start becoming frantic and making bad decisions. And it's because they don't have options. But when you have equity, to Matt's point, when people think it's not liquid, no. When you have equity, you have options. You just need to go talk to more people. You need to go talk to more banks. You need to go talk to more people to give you lines of credit to be able to pull a HELOC, to do all the things that you got to do. So guys, two things. I stand by this. Cash flow. I've got properties in some of the greatest markets in the country. And trust me, cash flow can be very fickle, especially when things break. And I'm telling you that because I literally just paid a bill today for something that broke at a rental that Jeremy Davis was staying at.
Jeremy broke it.
Send the bill to him, man.
Yeah. So, and that wiped out cash flow, but that's okay. Why? Because that house has $150,000 of equity, and that's my safety net. Guys, I would love to be able to stay here and just pick Matt's brain all day because he's freaking awesome. Oh my God, he's so amazing. And I'm learning so much. I think Marlon's learning a lot because me, I don't really do flips and I don't touch renovations because I'm always like aware of all of the bad stuff. And I'm looking at all that you're telling me. I'm like, holy crap, there's so many opportunities I just didn't know. So I want people to go and learn more. And I think the number one place, guys, it's going to start with going to Matt's Instagram. Okay. It's going to start with going to his Instagram and his YouTube channel, because on YouTube, you're going to have some longer form stuff where they can really sit in and dig deep and start learning a lot more. So guys, again, let me do this. Let me hide this really quickly. So right there at the 203K way, that's him on Instagram, and on YouTube, it's just your name. It's Matt Porcaro.
Yep. And what I'll throw one more bonus for everybody here. So I haven't actually released that it's happening yet, but I every now and again, I'll do like somewhere quarterly, I do a house hacking to wealth workshop. It's free. It's 3 nights, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. I go all in. If anyone's, I know maybe some of the people that are in my community are watching. If you get anything from me, I do not hold back at all. Like I have no business in holding back. It doesn't do anything for me. So I lay it all out. If anyone's interested in that, again, it's not released yet. So you can get on the waiting list. It's the 203kway.com/waiting list. Sam, I hope that's cool if I plug it. But for anyone that's interested in this, like I give everything on that, like everything you need to know about this hook, line, sinker on that 3-night workshop. So I'd love to see you guys there. Let me know you're here from, Sam and Marlon's community, and I would love to have you. But again, I haven't released it officially yet. I'll probably announce it tomorrow or the next day. But if you're on that email list, I will send out the notification and the Zoom registration. And in the meantime, mark your calendars. I usually start 8 p.m. each night next week. So if people are like, oh, I want to hear so much more, I want to know more about this, that'll be the best place. You're in a good position right now to watch that for next week.
There's so many of the questions that we had today. We just don't have time. They were so technical.
Yeah.
And people,
yeah.
And I love that because it means people's gears are spinning, right? Their wheels are turning. So I huge, 100% guys, you guys need to go and plug in with Matt on all the things on Instagram, on YouTube. Go to the workshop, especially. I mean, that's just amazing. Be able to spend that much extra time with you is awesome. Guys, okay, I think it's time for a giveaway because, dude, you crushed it. And I want everyone to be like, holy crap, on Think Big today, we had some mindset unlocks, we had some investment unlocks, and I want them to be able to just walk away and be like, holy crap, this Tuesday night was a pivotal moment for them, especially this early in 2025. So do me a favor, everyone in the chat, if you have followed Matt on Instagram and on YouTube, do me a favor and just put done in the chat, or just let me know in the chat. And what I'm going to do is, Matt, just make sure that they did. I'm going to pick someone at random, and we're going to.
Yeah, when you pick someone, I'll check it. I'll check it for you for sure.
Okay, let's do this. Matt, do me a favor. Damn, this is tough because everyone.
Dude, they're active right now.
Bro, that's like.
Well, they're getting the game changing in a lot of different ways. I love it. But this is what I'm here. This is why we're here, man. I mean, you guys, 19 episodes, you said?
119, yeah,
119.
That is like, dude, congrats. Like, kudos. I can't even express, like, I don't think, I'm sure people know, because people know in your community how awesome. And I know I actually went back and started watching some of your old lives, and it's awesome how much you pour into them. But dude, like, I don't think people understand how amazing that is, but it's a testament to why you guys do so well in what you do, because to the whole point of what we started with the episode is consistency. And your consistency here, like how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Our, our boy Kent Clothier says it all the time, but like it's true. And this is a huge testament to you guys. So yeah, I'm glad you guys all do it. And one of you is about to be super, super lucky right now. So
okay, let's do this. Because I'm just gonna I'm gonna let you know in the private chat.
Sure. Yep.
You got it. If that name is there for you.
Let's see.
This person's been hyper active in the chat, and I know they've been sharing because I've been getting tons of tags from this person.
Also want to make sure too it's not someone that maybe already previously followed me.
Oh, that's no fun then. That's no fun.
Here's what I want to make sure. This is what I really want to see them do. I want to see you guys subscribe to Matt's YouTube. This is like how you get bonus points. Subscribe to Matt's YouTube right now. And in fact, I'm going to show you this. I want y'all to see exactly what I do. When I find someone that has value, this is what it looks like. I'm going to share my screen for a second, Sam.
Go for it.
Let's see if it lets me.
Fun fact, Matt, that night that we got dinner in Tampa, literally after we left, I had to go back to the hotel to go live for Think Big. It was that night too.
Dude. Heck yeah, dude. I love that. I love that.
So this is what it looks like. First off, this is Matt's gorgeous face on YouTube. Good looking dude. And this is what we're gonna do. See, like a lot of you are just gonna click the subscribe button. That's a weak sauce. So this is how you actually subscribe to a channel. When you get inside there and you click subscribe, this little arrow, a lot of people don't know this arrow pops out on the right side. Click on that arrow and change the notification status to all. Because when you find valuable people, what happens is they put out content, their content is worth watching, but it gets wiped away in your news feed of cat memes and garbage. And then you're like, but I never saw that video. I didn't know Matt was going live. So I make sure I turn on all, but only for the people that I get value from. So when you guys go, this is what I want you to do. Subscribe to Matt's channel, turn on the all bell, screenshot this, and tag us on Instagram. I think that person absolutely deserves to win. I want to see who gets that done first.
Heck yeah, man. I appreciate that. It's funny because I've been really diving in on YouTube. I'm not as consistent as you guys, but I'm going in a little bit closer to weekly. I'm trying, but a lot of stuff again between the two, but I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we have someone, hopefully. I think we verified at least someone.
That person, let me know out of those names on there.
Yeah. No, we're gonna keep everybody honest here, man. That's what we talk about, integrity, big time.
Dude, people are still commenting done. People are, you guys are active tonight.
This is the most.
Matt, we got to get you back on. Dude, the podcast is like jumping.
I would love to. Anytime I will move. So fun fact, like my inner circle, my inner circle clients and everything, our calls usually 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. But I moved it to Thursday for you guys because I know how important this is, and I know that you guys are locked in on Tuesdays. So, and a couple of them are probably here, a couple of people from my inner circle, but that's super cool, man. We go all in on it. I don't see it, man, but again, like there's so many coming through.
Do me a favor, look at the chat and then see all those names, the 5,000 people who put the word done there. Okay. You let me know.
Okay.
That sucks because the person I picked, I was like, dang, that person would have crushed it. You guys messed up.
Oh man.
I confirm.
You guys gotta follow rules.
The one before is followed.
Ooh, honorary shout out though. While we're picking a name, honorary shout out to Savan, honorary shout out to Tiffany Chow, honorary shout out to Sydney Nash, because honorary shout out to Chris Dickerson. Right, these people already tagged us on IG. They've been tagging all throughout. Honorary shout out to Amani. Honorary shout out to Xavier. Honorary shout out to Chin May. Like, y'all have already been tagging all throughout. You've been sharing the podcast. You've been sharing the value. You're my kind of people. We love you.
Okay, let's do this. I want to, because we've done so many giveaways, and it's funny, half the names that Marlon announced we've done giveaways for. But right off the bat, the person we're going to go with, congratulations to, let's go with Issa. Heck yeah. Let's go with
congrats.
Issa. Issa, do me a favor. I need you to go ahead and DM me on Instagram. I think you've already DM'd me before on Instagram. DM me on Instagram and just get in touch with me. What you and I are going to do, we're going to schedule a time, and you and I are going to jump on a call one-on-one, and I'm going to diagnose and dissect the hell out of your business. We're going to set some revenue goals for you, and then we're going to use the killer KPI spreadsheet to go ahead and reverse engineer all of it. And then I'm going to jump on another call with you to make sure you understand how to absolutely crush on that, so you can make $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, whatever the hell it is you want to do. I'm here for it. And then because I feel, you know what, I'm going to do this. Matt, I'm going to hold you this later down the road. I want you coming back for a part 2 down the road whenever it makes sense for you. Bro, that was huge. Thank you so much for absolutely giving without holding back. And that is the number one reason I wanted to bring you on, is because ever since I met you, you're a giver who doesn't gatekeep, and I love that. Guys, give it up for Matt. We will see you all next week. Peace out, guys.